Hello, welcome to Mowgli TV. Today we're going to talk about another free effect from Resolume, which is available on the Resolume forum, with link in the description, which is Slit Scanner. The first time I saw this effect, I've got to say that I was really chuffed because it's reminiscent of one of the effects from the Chaos Pad Enhancer, which I like so much that I created a whole audiovisual track based entirely on that effect, Bandurga's Bed. If you're not familiar with the Chaos Pad Enhancer, it's a hardware audio and video effects processor that was released in the noughties. It was as much loved as it was hated when it was released because it came out at the point in time when VJ World was transitioning from using composite video to using VGA and DVI. And the fact that the Enhancer only worked with composite was something that put some people off it. In any case, I've always loved it. I've got two of them and I use them up to this day when I do VJing using no computer, which is something that I find to be extremely good fun and completely different from VJing digitally, as it's a lot more hands-on and it's just a completely different experience, which allows you to get away from the computer in this day and age when that's all that we seem to be doing. It's got to be said that the Chaos Pad Enhancer has become a bit of a collector's item, and if you see them on eBay, they tend to go for ridiculous prices. So you should take advantage of the fact that Resolume is giving you one of the best effects on the Enhancer for free. So grab it. Well, let's get into it. I've just added a camera source into Resolume, which is what I'll be using to demonstrate what the effect does. When you first install the effect, it'll appear under your wire effects in the effects tab. So I'm going to drag it across. This is what it does out of the box. What's happening here is that the effect is taking a slice of your video and then it's repeating it across horizontally while applying a bit of delay on it. I'm just waving my hand in front of the camera at the moment. Just gonna disable the effect so that you see what I'm doing. Put the effect back on. Now this is something that I used to call digital weaving, because in a way it's how weaving works. You just work one row at a time and you create patterns with it, which is what this effectively does. Let's go through the actual settings on the effect. So you got the scan speed, which is basically how fast that delay works. This also affects the width of your slices. So if it's faster, the slices become a bit wider. You've got the slit size control, which again affects the size of your slices, but leaving gaps between them. If you click on show slit, it'll isolate the area that you're playing with. If you now play with the slit position, you'll see that it scrolls across the actual video frame, so you can pick which part of the video frame you'll be using for your effects. Turn off the show slit. You see that just manipulating that parameter, which you could animate using whatever you want, BPM sync, FFT, and put envelopes on it to create all kinds of stuff. So this is what actually makes the effect appear more interesting. I'm hardly moving here physically. The camera image is hardly changing, just talking at the moment. But just manipulating this, as you can see, creates this dynamic flow of motion. And although you can apply this effect to any video clip, what I really like this effect for is to use yourself physically to draw visuals. I'm going to do a little example of what I mean with this. I'm just going to be moving my hand up and down in front of the camera. And as you can see, I'm literally drawing a wave just by moving my hand up and down. I'm going to gradually bring the opacity of the effect down so that you see what I'm actually doing. I'm drawing using my hand, which means that you can be very performative with this. You can be very physical with it, and you can react instantly to the music. And here's another really good tip to use with Slit Scanner. I'm just going to reveal all my performance secrets. When I use the Chaos Pad Enhancer with a no computer visual situation, I tend to have a camera plugged straight into it, and then I'm physical with the visuals. And I've got this thing I made a while ago, which I call the Groovy Box. It's an Arduino based LED screen that creates different patterns, like fiddling with the knobs and the fader. You've got a lot of control over the colors, how fast the patterns go. It also matches BPM, etc. And basically I use this with the Chaos Pad Enhancer, which you could easily replicate using Resolume. I'm just going to switch the effect on by moving the groovy box around. I can create all kinds of really interesting abstract patterns that can easily be going in sync with the music because I'm moving it. So I can be on the beat, I can make it really bright, I can make it not as bright, zooming in and out, and you have a great time playing with this. It's also something that tends to be picked on by an audience. They see a link between the visuals and the guy performing the visuals, and kind of makes it more interesting for an audience. If you're doing this to live music, for example, this becomes something that is actually part of the performance, not just the visuals, but the way you are making the visuals. So that's it for Slit Scanner. Please, as always, like and subscribe, as it really helps my channel. I hope you've enjoyed not just the review of the FA, but a little insight in how I do visuals with no computer and how you could replicate this using Resolume. Well, I hope to see you next time, and thanks for watching.